Hello friends and comrades, and welcome to another video. In this one I will be comparing 5 different maps: LiveUAMap, DeepStateMap, Rybar's map, DPA's map, and my own map. And then I'll be comparing them all and seeing what the different ones say and where the differences are, and if generally they are all agreeing on the general front line. And if they disagree, where do they disagree, and what are some errors or correct areas in which we can compare the different maps to find out what the reality is on the ground. So first, looking at LiveUAMap, this is widely considered as a pro-Ukrainian map, as most of their sources come from pro-Ukrainian sources. We can see that they have mapped out the whole front line and also Russian occupied territory and what the Ukrainians have regained after Russian occupation. We can see that it has been updated to follow the river line of the Ulski River, and it follows all the way down to this forested area in the southwest of the Ulski River, as well as all the way to Liman. However, they claim that this whole area south of Liman, between the Liman and the river, is under Ukrainian control, except for Yempil. In the eastern side, it shows this whole area under Russian control, the whole borderline, but they claim Spirne, Venodarivka, Verno-Kamyansk, and so on are under Ukrainian control. Around the Bakhmut front, we see that Zaitsev is under attack, Kodyma is taken by the Russians, Mykolaiivka Druha, Mykolaiivka, Otrodivka, Dakha, all of these areas are under Ukrainian control. In the Donetsk front, we see that the Russians have advanced to Novoselivka, Novobakhmutivka, Novoselivka Druha, and have reached the H20 highway, but are not fighting anywhere near Krasnohorivka, Vesele, Kamyanka, and Avdivka. There is reported fighting on the MO4 highway close to the Donetsk airport, and outside of Pisky. Pisky is fully under Russian control, and the Russians are advancing toward Nevelsky. In the rest of the Donetsk front and the Zaporizhia front, we see that Volodar and surrounding areas under Ukrainian control, and Russia has reached the river line but have not taken Volodymyrivka and Blahodetne. They are outside Velika, Novosilka, Vremivka, Nishkuchne, and so on. And in the west, we see Doroshnyenka under Ukrainian control, and it stops at Kamyansk, as well as Novodanilivka. So Novodanilivka is under Ukrainian control on this map. And then finally on the Kherson front, we see Novoskrensenske and all of these areas around the T22 highway, as well as Akhanhelske is contested, I'm guessing, and Novopetrivka is under Russian control. Going further west, we see here Davydiv Brid is under attack, and the Ukrainians have managed to advance all the way to Besimene, and they have taken this whole coastline until Blahodativka, the riverbank, not coastline. And finally, we see here Barvinok, Blahodatne, Soldatske, Mirne, Oleksandrivka, all under Ukrainian control. So that's the LiveUAMap. Then we compare it to the DeepStateMap. Let's see if there are any changes. We start where it finished. In the DeepStateMap, Oleksandrivka is under Russian control. And we have to keep in mind that the DeepStateMap is 2 days delayed. So this is the 12th. I'm currently recording on the 14th. This is the 12th of September, latest update. We see that all of these frontline cities that were under Ukrainian control on the LiveUAMap is under Russian control. Also, this map is in Ukrainian, I can see. Not sure if you can change the language. I have not used this much. However, this whole area is contested, according to them. In this riverline area, we see that Davydiv Brid is still under Russian control. The Ukrainians managed to capture this whole area, the rest is contested. and they have not reached Kodame yet. Going further north, we see that they have taken these 4 villages in the north, but have not, and this one is contested, where the rest is under Russian control. So generally, it is way more conservative. It's way more conservative than the LiveUAMap, as it takes a lot fewer villages as conquered and more areas as contested. And this area around this front, Zaporizhia front, we see that this same village is also under Ukrainian control and not under Russian control. And further north, we see some of these villages under Russian control and some under Ukrainian control taken back. So there are some changes here as well. Finally, in this area, we see that these villages are under Russian control in this map, compared to LiveUAMap that said that these weren't, while this area is also counterattacked on this map. Around Marinka, there seems to be a pushback for the Russians in the area, and no front line reached this area. And around Pisky, we see that they haven't gotten full control over the city, but they have pushed further on as well. And around the airport, should be around here, we see that there's no fighting in the area. Well, actually, it seems that it is contested, as this may very well be the airport. So according to them, the airport is contested. Further north, around the Bakhmut area, we see that further north around the Andrivka area, we see that the Russians are advancing towards these front lines villages. They have advanced a bit further than on the LiveUAMap, but similar, very similar front line. As for the Bakhmut front, we see that Setseve and this area is still under Ukrainian control or contested, while Mykolaiivka, Druha, and Mykolaiivka are still contested, as well as Uderdivka. Kudema and Dakha is under Russian control. So these, I think we can all agree that this is more on the conservative side compared to other pro-UA sources, and it is more trustworthy than LiveUAMap, considering a pro-UA source is saying that Russian advances are further than another pro-UA source. But generally, I would rather believe this map than LiveUAMap, personally. But also see that they have some more areas contested than what LiveUAMap has. All of this on LiveUAMap is under Russian control, however here it is seen as contested. Now moving up to a pro-Russian source, which is the Rybar map. We see at the bottom left, we see all of these frontline cities as well being contested or under Russian control, similar to the DeepStateMap. And if we look further north, we see that Vysokopilya, Ulhyne, and other of these frontline villages are contested or under Russian control compared to the DeepStateMap. So it's further pro-Russian than the DeepStateMap is. If we look at the northern side of the Kherson, going deeper, because this is an old map from 1 p.m. on September 13th. This is 4:30 p.m. on September 13th. They claim that this whole area is contested, including Vishnevek, Shcheklove, Steptove, and all of these villages, where the DeepStateMap only claimed up to Kostromka was contested. They also mentioned that there's fighting around Prushkinsky, and Davidivrit is under Russian control. However, what's interesting is here in the southwestern side, we see Ukraine has control of many more villages than the DeepStateMap says. This could either be that DeepStateMap is delayed with 2 days, or that they don't want to reveal, as it is a pro-UA source. They don't want the Russians to know. However, as this is a pro-Russian source, the Russians already know. Looking at the northern side of the Kherson area, we see around Vysokopilya, Potemkine is under Ukrainian control. However, Ulhyne is contested, and Akhanhelske is also contested. Novosnenske is under Ukrainian control. However, the rest is under Russian control. By this, we see that they are further ahead than the DeepStateMap when it comes to reporting Ukrainian losses, but they are also holding on to important villages as contested rather than Ukrainian control. Generally speaking, this is also a fairly accurate pro-Russian source map compared to the DeepStateMap, which is also a pro-UA map, but it is also fairly accurate. So I would compare DeepStateMap and Rybar map to see what the front line looks like, as both seem to be more on the neutral side rather than on the far pro-UA or pro-Russia side. Finally, looking on the rest of the map, we see that similarly to LiveUAMap, they have drawn this whole area as Russian control with a much smaller contested line where the front line is fighting is going on. However, they claim that this whole Liman area is under Russian control. However, this is by the end of September 13th, so this is the latest news, being that they consider the crossings by the Ukrainians into the Liman area to be false, and that it isn't happening, but they are attempting to cross. And according to these signs of shelling, the Rybar map says that Ukraine is failing at crossing the river. However, they also claim that Bilohorivka and Spirne and the surrounding villages are under attack by the Russians and Ukrainians. There's fighting ongoing in these areas, meaning that both the Ukrainians and the Russians are fighting on this front line. So they are quicker at reporting battles before they finish and just report them as they are happening, and they seem to be fairly even on that. As for the Bakhmut front, we see that the Rybar map is claiming that Zaitsev is under attack from two sides. Mykolaiivka and Mykolaiivka Dru have both been taken, and they are fighting at Otradivka. And they also claim this whole Dakha area, as well as Zaitsev and so on, are all under Russian control, compared to the DeepStateMap, which claims that it is contested. And closer to the Vuhledar-Pisky Donetsk front line, we see that it's hard to see on this map. However, they are claiming, similarly to DeepStateMap, however, they are claiming that in this area we can close in. However, they claim that the Russians have control all the way to this bridge here, so they have claimed much more than what the DeepStateMap has. So Rybar moves the front line of the contested to be much smaller than that of the Deep State. Deep State claims that a lot more is contested than the Russians, while the Deep State claims a lot more is contested than the Rybar map, compared to the Rybar map saying that more is under Russian control. Finally, we look at DPA map. On DPA's map, I think this is probably one of the most reliable maps, as he takes a lot of both sides, both pro-Ukrainian sources and pro-Russian sources, and compares them with each other, saying, for example, here, the Ukrainians claim that they have passed, while the Russians claim they have control over the river. That means that he overlaps these maps to see, okay, there is a possibility for this and that. So, in this regards, the LiveUAMap, in this regard, DPA's map is best for you who want to see what every side says and not what he personally thinks. So he's looking at all of the data and then he compares them with each other, compared to other maps that say, okay, we believe this, so we will report this. However, here, for example, he claims Mykolaiivka and Mykolaiivka Druha are under Russian control, and that is because the latest news say so. For example, the DeepStateMap is 2 days behind. It's the 12th of September, while these updates happen on the 13th of September, meaning that he takes the latest update, and then if a new update comes and reports something different, for example, that Mykolaiivka Druha and Mykolaiivka are under Ukrainian control from a pro-Ukrainian source, he will usually put a question mark and say, it is possible that Ukraine still controls this area. So generally, DeepStateMap is very reliable, and you can look at it if you want to see what both sides claim and what the situation could be like, rather than what it is most likely to be. And if you want to learn more about what he says, you can watch his YouTube channel. You can see his reporting on this different on these different news and reports, so that you can get a clearer picture. And then finally, my own map. What I usually do is I take what I believe to be the most accurate. For example, here there's a video of a Russian journalist in Alexandrivka saying that Alexandrivka is still under Russian control. I believe it because there is video evidence of that. And then I usually take two of these changes. For example, that Nizhny was claimed to be under Ukrainian control. Now I've seen that Rybar's most recent map says otherwise, so I will put a question mark here as a show of it's not 100% sure that it is under Ukrainian control anymore. And generally what I do is I look at different sources, OSINT accounts on Twitter and on Telegram to see what the different sites report, and then I will report accordingly. So one of my main sources is for the pro-Russian side is Rybar. I usually report exactly what they say until someone else says something that contradicts it. Then I'll put a question mark. And then on my pro-Russian, and then on my pro-Ukrainian side, I usually use LiveUAMap on. Well, on my pro-Ukrainian side, I usually use LiveUAMap on Twitter. It is fairly accurate mapping he's been doing. However, when it contradicts with Rybar, this is when I put the question marks, as I think both of them are reliable. But now I can take DeepStateMap and take it as a third source to see, okay, what area should I correct it in according to these three different sources. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Subscribe.